Hey guys, welcome back to Follow Me 11B. Discussions on current events, macroeconomics, and freedom and liberty from a veteran's perspective. I'm Andy, and today I wanted to discuss, is Biden trying to start a civil war? But before I get to that, first of all, I wanted to let you know I'm doing something a little differently here tonight. We'll see how this goes. I'm just going to do an outdoor picnic table video. Second one I've tried like this. This one is a little later than usual, and already with the mosquitoes, I'm thinking maybe this isn't the best time of day to try a picnic table video, but we'll try to power through. But before I get to the topic of the day, I wanted to get to a few odds and ends. First of all, a few videos back, I mentioned Real Michele Black on Instagram, Real Michele Black 2, a great page for the news of the day, calling out the absurdities of those in power and some funny memes. And I highly recommended it. Well, I still highly recommend it. Only problem is it's no longer there. She has changed the name, and she is now working with her brothers. And it is now called, in small letters, Hearts _of _Oak _1776. That's Hearts of Oak 1776. So it's definitely worth a look. And Michele, keep up the good work. Also, I wanted to thank all the new subscribers from the last several weeks. We are growing quickly, and I definitely, God, these mosquitoes, I definitely appreciate it. Just a call out too, just a shout out quick to anybody that has not subscribed and is watching right now. Please consider subscribing. Smash down on that like thumbs up. I would appreciate it. It helps the algorithm at YouTube recognize quality videos and videos that people want to see. So I would appreciate it. Now back to the topic of the day. Is Biden trying to start a civil war? So to start things off, let's go to an NBC News article I came across called Biden's Soul of the Nation Speech and the Battle Against MAGA Semi-Fascism in America. And it is by Jason Stanley, professor of philosophy at Yale University and author of How Fascism Works, the Politics of Us and Them. Okay. In a speech Thursday in Philadelphia, President Joe Biden at last came around to the central political issue facing the U.S. Americans must make the decision, in polling booths no less, about whether to remain on a path toward a multiracial democracy. The president did not shy away from the truth. The Republican Party, one of our two major parties, has been taken over by explicitly anti-democratic social and political movement collectively known as MAGA Republicans. Biden's comments built on remarks at a fundraiser a few days ago in Maryland where he said extreme MAGA philosophy was semi-fascism, but Antifa attacks on Trump supporters or BLM riots nationwide, even worldwide, in reaction to a Minneapolis issue. That's not semi-fascism. I'm a little confused here, but hey, moving on with the article. Not surprisingly, reactionary conservatives like Fox News host Tucker Carlson and House Republican leader, God, mosquitoes, Kevin McCarthy, immediately began braying for an apology. But does Biden have anything to apologize for? I mean, besides labeling 74 plus million Americans as enemies of democracy and semi-fascists? No, nothing. Americans can freely vote for MAGA Republicans in an upcoming 2022 and 2024 election, but placing and keeping these people in power in the short term would likely result in long-term one-party rule, as well as massive restrictions on the liberties of racial, religious, and sexual minorities, as well as women. Moving on to another quick article from Daily Mail, and this one was from today, September 2nd, 2022. Emily Gooden. Just going to breeze through this one real quick. I don't consider any Trump supporter a threat to the country. Now, Biden walks back his attacks and insists he was talking about people who call for the use of violence and reject election results. And last but not least, we've got Biden says Trump supporters not a threat to country after speech blasting MAGA Republicans by Caitlin McFall from September 2nd, FoxNews.com. President Biden on Friday says he does not consider any Donald Trump supporters to be a threat to the U.S., though he says the failure to condemn violence for political gains was inappropriate. The president's comments were an answer to a question from Fox News' Peter Doocy, who asked if Biden considered all Trump supporters to be a threat to the country less than a day after he blasted MAGA Republicans in a speech Thursday. And here's a quote. You keep trying to make that case. I don't consider any Trump supporters a threat to the country, Biden says. I do think anyone who calls for the use of violence, refuses to acknowledge an election, changing the way you count votes, that is a threat to democracy. It seems a little contradictory, number one. And number two, isn't the way that the whole election panned out to begin with all these rule changes at the 11th hour, many cases unconstitutional state law changes that were made unconstitutionally. You could just flip this right back around on him. But there was a couple of quotes here. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Here's a quote from the speech that I just thought was worth repeating, just because of how ridiculous it was. Not every Republican embraces their extreme ideology. I know, because I've been able to work with these mainstream Republicans, but there's no question that the Republican Party today is driven and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans, and that is a threat to this country. So, anyway, that's pretty much all the notes I had. So, why don't we just walk around here a little bit, because that way the mosquitoes will have a harder time tagging me. But, yeah, what I was going to say about that was, isn't it ironic, though, that the same guy that is talking about the election being, you have to either basically work with me, basically it's either you're with me or you're with MAGA. And I don't know if that's accurate. That should be the way it is. I mean, just because you don't agree with an election, okay, well, there's a lot of people that haven't agreed with many elections, including many of the Democrats over the last, the entire Trump era, shall we say, from pretty much day one that he won the presidency. They were talking about how he won the election with Russian collusion and he was an illegitimate president. Does anybody seem to remember that? So far, I think the answer is no. There's been a lot of goofy, shall we say, hijinks going on between the Biden administration, the DOJ, the FBI, etc., in recent days, weeks, and months. And I don't think that calling half the voting population from the last election, calling them out as enemies of the state, is going to do anything other than get people riled up to the point where perhaps there will be a civil war. Now, hopefully I'm wrong, but I'm not saying there is going to be. I'm not saying there isn't going to be, but I mean, in my opinion, to get back to the original question, is Biden trying to start a civil war with this hyperbole? I'm going to go ahead and say no. I don't think he is. I think just based on the fact that he walked us all back the next day and his people are walking it back for him, I think it's just him trying to hold on to power. And he doesn't care how he does it. He doesn't care how many people get run over by the steamroller that is that could damage people, that could hurt people, that could destroy businesses, that could light off a fuse of another summer of riots, or who knows, fall of riots, or even winter of destruction. Who knows? But to me, it does not look like he is trying to create a civil war, but he might very well do that in the end, in my opinion, because when you've got this going on, I'm not saying anything other than, does this remind you of anything other than dun 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 dun? I mean, come on. Yeah, his PR team is doing a great job, but I could be wrong. Maybe this was just what crazy Uncle Joe needed. We've either got Sleepy Joe or we've got Angry Joe. And last night we had Angry Joe for sure. But you guys tell me what you thought of the speech last night. Do you think it was a good speech for Joe Biden? Do you think it was a speech that's going to light a fuse, that's going to slowly sizzle down to the point where it hits the dynamite of civil war? Let me know. And in the meantime, don't forget we are growing. We are Follow Me 11B on YouTube, on Facebook, on Gettr, and on Twitter, and we are The Real Follow Me 11B on Instagram and on Rumble. And we will see you all on the next video.